A group of criminals is taken to a prison in the suburbs of Mongolia, unaware that what awaits them is not just days of hard labor, because behind the prison lies a secret that no one dares to reveal to establish absolute power. The prison guards used every means to torment the prisoners. They prepared a bowl of dog food for each person. The warden demanded that the prisoners eat all the food like dogs. A short-haired girl who just complained. A few words was immediately beaten brutally. She was immediately marked with paint on her clothes. The female warden threatened that this was the first warning. Anyone who is warned twice will have their sentence extended by 1 month. So all the prisoners chose to compromise. In the quiet of the night, the male warden went down to the camp to check, intending to torment the sleeping prisoners. As a result, he accidentally discovered that one bed was empty. Who would have thought that someone would choose to escape on the very first day? But this prison is so remote that even after running all night, the prisoner couldn't escape the mountainous area. In the end, he was still caught by the wardens waiting to hunt ahead. This time, the escapee is in big trouble in front of everyone. The male warden beat him within an inch of his life to deter others. The warden punished the escapee by locking him in a dog cage for 3 days, while also warning the remaining prisoners that if anyone else dared to attempt an escape, their cellmates would also face the same punishment. In the following days, the prisoners here had to endure increasingly worse torment. But they had no idea that in some secret area of the prison, the female warden was gently telling stories to a little girl. The little girl was very curious, not understanding why she was there. The female warden gently said that the little girl's existence could save many lives that day. The warden announced some good news to the prisoners outside. It was that the prison director would hold a conversation today with the purpose of listening to everyone's wishes. But everyone understood clearly that this was just a formality. If they truly expressed all their opinions, the prison director wouldn't care, and their lives would become even more difficult during the conversation. That evening, the prisoners behaved unusually obediently. It wasn't until the prison director left satisfied that they gathered to whisper among themselves if they continued to stay here sooner or later, both physically and mentally, they would collapse. Finally, these individuals made a bold decision to simultaneously escape from prison tonight. At midnight, as the prisoners were preparing to act, a car unexpectedly drove into the prison. They looked through the window and saw 2 men hurriedly entering the secret area. After the male warden came to the cell, everyone pretended to be asleep. The male warden gently called out to a prisoner. This person was usually quite obedient, so he LED him out of the cell. Those who were pretending to sleep immediately sat up. They really didn't understand what the male warden's intentions were. At this moment, someone noticed that the guards outside the gate had all withdrawn inside. This was absolutely a great opportunity for an escape. They couldn't wait for that prisoner to return and hurriedly put on clothes to sneak out of the cell. But everyone was unaware that earlier that prisoner had been taken to a secret area. They had injected a shot into his neck. Not long after, he went berserk and started attacking the remaining people in that area. In an instant, the alarm sirens in the prison blared loudly, and the door to the secret area was forcefully pushed open. Several zombies rushed out and bit anyone they saw. The support team continuously fired their guns. They thought they had eliminated all the zombies. But unexpectedly, someone suddenly sprang up from among the zombies. It was the prisoner who had been LED away by the warden earlier, now turned into a zombie. The entire support team was wiped out in an instant. The prisoners attempting to escape at this moment also realized the abnormality and began to flee in panic. But how could their speed compare to that of the zombies? Very quickly, someone was knocked to the ground on the other side. The prison director was quite shrewd. He hurriedly ran back to the office to find a box, taking advantage of the moment when everyone was fighting the zombies. He quietly approached a truck. A gunshot killed the zombie wandering nearby. The prison director quickly jumped onto the truck. He noticed his arm was bleeding, but there was no time to worry about that now. He stepped on the gas and sped away, leaving the male guard standing there angrily shouting. Somehow, it was already morning. A prisoner was frantically running through the forest when suddenly a dark figure pinned him down and covered his mouth. It turned out to be the male god who had managed to escape. Now the undead have become the greatest threat. Everyone chose to set aside their grudges. From a distance, they saw a truck parked on the road. This place is remote, and they must find a means of transportation. No matter what, a few brave prisoners quietly approached the truck. Who would have thought that inside the truck were 2 undead? The warden and the prisoners cooperated, joining forces to fight the undead. Unfortunately, the noise was too loud and attracted all the surrounding undead. Moreover, in the rush, the vehicle also broke down. Everyone had to abandon the idea of getting in the truck and continued to flee desperately. Finally, they managed to escape back to the familiar prison. At least this place has buildings for shelter, which is better than being out in the open fields, racing against the undead. At this moment, the warden put on an authoritative face. Several prisoners acted simultaneously. They had been dissatisfied with the warden for a long time, and not killing him immediately was already a great restraint. The long-haired prisoner leader loudly asked, What exactly are you doing in this prison?" The male warden immediately showed a cooperative attitude. It turned out that a secret area in this prison was conducting an experiment. All the prisoners would eventually become test subjects. It's just that for some reason, an unexpected incident occurred yesterday, leading to today's situation. However, the male warden was not involved in this plan. He was only responsible for providing the test subjects. As for the specific details, he was not aware of them. The prisoners still felt that the warden was not a good person, so they found some rope to tie him up, leaving 2 prisoners to guard him. The rest of them went to the bus to sleep. Since last night they had hardly had any rest. Now they didn't have the mind to think about what to do next in the forest. There were 2 prisoners who got lost and were being chased by the living dead. Fortunately, they finally managed to escape back to the prison. The 2 brought the latest news to everyone. This virus has an extremely strong ability to infect. Now everywhere. Outside is filled with the living dead. At this point, everyone was forced to think about their next move. Staying here any longer would surely lead to death. At this moment, the warden revealed an important piece of information that there are a few similar detention stations nearby. As long as they can get there, they will surely be saved. But among those present, only the warden knows the location having this bargaining chip. The warden couldn't help but feel smug at this moment. The person who had just escaped back to the prison suddenly began to vomit. A few people gathered around to check and discovered scratch marks from a zombie on his neck. There was no doubt about it. He had unfortunately contracted the virus. Turning into a zombie was only a matter of time. A few prisoners rushed forward intending to deal with him, but the long-haired man firmly stopped them. The infected prisoner suddenly stood up, snatched the whistle from the warden's neck and dashed outside like lightning. He knew he didn't have much time left yet. He chose to sacrifice himself to attract the zombies, giving everyone a chance to escape. The prisoners sitting in the vehicle were extremely shocked, but quickly ran outside, knowing that only by finding another truck would they have hope. Unfortunately, the number of zombies attracted away was limited. They still couldn't avoid being attacked by the zombies on the escape route. Prisoners continuously fell. Finally, the remaining ones found a truck. The long-haired man recklessly ran to the front of the truck using a hand crank to start the engine. Meanwhile, the female driver inside the truck was so terrified that she drove off without waiting for others to get in. Everyone looked on in despair at this scene and could only run back towards the prison once more. At this moment, the warden had untied the ropes on his hands. He didn't choose to escape but went to a secret area in the prison. Unexpectedly, the female warden was still taking care of the little girl. It turned out that the little girl was the key to developing the vaccine. The male warden didn't care about that. He directly knocked out the female warden and took the little girl away from the secret area. His combat ability was far superior to that of ordinary prisoners, wielding a large axe and slaying many zombies along the way. In no time, the 2 of them reached another nearby prison. At this moment, the long-haired man led 2 of his accomplices back to the previous prison while they were looking at the map to find an escape route. The female warden suddenly walked in. The long-haired man didn't harm her. He just wanted to gather more valuable information in a state of disorientation. The female warden led a few people to the control room to show them the entire experiment process. It turned out that not long before scientists had discovered a type of parasite that could affect the human brain and behavior to control this biological weapon, they began conducting experiments and extensively researching a vaccine. After relentless efforts, they finally extracted the first dose of the vaccine from the girl's body. The prisoner being led away was the first person chosen as a guinea pig for this vaccine experiment, but the virus was more terrifying than everyone thought. The vaccine had no effect at all. On the contrary, it caused the virus to mutate. It made people lose their sanity, and the rate of infection became much stronger. The only way to control the virus is to find that girl. The girl was taken by the male warden. Hearing this, the long-haired person sided with the female warden, helped her reclaim the girl. The female warden stayed at the prison. She told the long-haired person about a nearby detention camp, guessing the other party went there for refuge. The long-haired person reached the camp with the address. The escaped female driver was also there. He intended to talk with the warden, but the director who fled that night burst in seeing the food. His eyes lit up. Everyone was worried about the gun in the prison director's hand, so they could only sit still, not daring to move. The prison director smugly told his former subordinate, the male warden, that last night, after being bitten by a zombie, he immediately injected himself with a vaccine as soon as he finished speaking. The virus in the prison director's body flared up again. The male warden quickly snatched his gun. The female driver didn't care, taking advantage of the chaos to drag the little girl and run outside. She wanted to leave this dangerous place immediately. The sound of the car starting caught the warden's attention. The long-haired person rushed forward and grabbed the gun. The two struggled, while the female driver felt guilty, stopped the car and returned to save him. The long-haired person had seized the gun, and without hesitation pulled the trigger. The sound of the gun immediately attracted the attention of the zombies, but it turned out the long-haired person didn't shoot the warden because he knew he couldn't escape the zombies alone. The two had no choice but to cooperate and fight the zombies together. At that moment, the female driver drove up to urge them to quickly get in the car. However, the number of zombies kept increasing, and a zombie ran to the driver's seat and bit the long-haired girl sitting there. The warden was also surrounded by zombies, unable to escape. The long-haired girl could only start the car immediately to take the remaining survivors away from the prison. By the time the car reached the safe area, the long-haired girl realized her body could no longer hold on before mutating. She chose to leave, staying away from everyone. In the end, the long-haired girl and the female driver took the little girl to the city border. They saw that the entire city had turned into ruins. It seemed that their escape journey was just beginning. The above is the content of the movie The Zone, a new Mongolian zombie film that has just been released after watching this movie. I always feel there's something strange about it. No character names appear in the film. Not even the main character can be identified from beginning to end. The story's focus is not grasped anyway. This is Mongolia's first attempt at this film genre. What do you think about the movie? Please leave a comment below to let us know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you again.